Hello, I'm Mrs. Charity. Welcome to the Glorious Heritage Overview of Catholic Church History. Discover the amazing story of the Church together as a family as you color and paste your way through the timeline and printables, which you can find on our website. And now, let's move into our topic for today.
Hello, I'm Mr. Charity, and welcome to the Glorious Heritage Catholic History video series. Today's topic is number 80, the 100 Years' War. If you look on your timeline and summary question sheets, you'll notice that we are in the yellow time period, which we have called Kingdom. If you don't have a timeline or summary question sheets, you can find them on our website. When we look on a map of the world, we are used to seeing all the boundary lines that show the different countries of the world. For instance, we see the boundaries for the United States, and notice that Canada is the country to the north, and Mexico is the country to the south. If we look on a map of Europe, we see the countries of Italy, it's shaped like a boot, the country of France, of Ireland, of the United Kingdom, and many more. But you might not realize that those boundary lines are very new in the context of church history. For hundreds and hundreds of years, we did not have the countries that we have today. In the early part of the 14th century, just before the 100 Years' War began, the people who lived in present-day France and present-day England did not really think of themselves as people living in different countries. Their kingdoms were related because the King of France and the King of England were related. They had aunts or uncles or cousins, nieces or nephews in common. They just thought of themselves as Catholics who lived in different lands, but they didn't think of themselves as either French or English necessarily. In fact, if you remember in the year 1066, the Norman warrior William the Conqueror invaded England and made himself the king there. William came from northern France, so when he invaded England, he brought the French language and culture to England, which ended up mixing together and forming the English language and culture that we know today. So there has been a lot of interaction and mixing together between the lands of England and France over the centuries. They are kind of like brothers and sisters. Both of them were children of the Catholic Church in the late 1300s. But something happened to change their relationship. In the Kingdom of France, the king died, and there was a struggle to find a new king to replace him. The English king Edward III, he wanted to make himself the king of France also. He said that he was the grandson of the French king who had died. So therefore, he said, he should be the next king of France and also the king of England at the same time. Well, the nobles of France did not agree with him. They refused, and instead they chose a man named Philip IV to be the next king of France. This angered Edward III of England very much, and he decided to raise an army and invade France to make himself the king by force. This was the start of the 100 Years' War. At the beginning, the English beat the French in battle after battle. They were very mean to the French people and stole their money and their food. Well, this lasted a long time, and that's why it's called the 100 Years' War. But then, God raised up a great saint to defend France and kick out the English out of their lands. Do you know who it was? I'm sure you'll recognize her once I say her name. Have you ever heard of Saint Joan of Arc? I'm sure you have. So, she would hear the voices of saints who talked to her and told her to drive out the English, even though she was just a young farm girl. God worked wonders through St. Joan of Arc. She won a great battle at Orleans in France, and the English were furious about it. They called her a witch. They didn't believe that God had called her to do what she was doing. The English captured her, and they burned her at the stake, in a disgraceful event in which they lied to pretend that she was a heretic and a witch. But she was a Catholic saint. The English were eventually driven out of France in 1453. Now, here is Mrs. Charity to tell you about how the 100 Years' War was the start of the national identities for the French and English.
Hello, I am Mrs. Charity. Remember how Mr. Charity told you that before the 100 Years' War, the English and French didn't really think of themselves as different people, but instead just as Catholics who lived in different lands. Well, that changed after the 100 Years' War. Because the horrible fighting lasted so long, the French and English grew very angry with each other. After the war, neither wanted to be associated with the other side. So the French thought of themselves as French, and the English thought of themselves as English. It has been that way ever since. Even today, the English and French make fun of each other in a joking way.
Welcome back. Let me tell you a story about a famous battle during the 100 Years' War. It's called the Battle of Agincourt. This is the battle in which it is said that knighthood and chivalry came to an end. The English invented a new kind of bow and arrow that could go right through the armor of the knights. From that point on, there was no use wearing heavy armor anymore because it didn't do any good. In the middle of the 100 Years' War, on St. Crispin's Day in 1415, the English and French armies clashed near Agincourt, France. The English, led by the King Henry V, faced overwhelming odds against the numerically superior French forces. The English army was a remarkable blend of archers and men of arms, but it was the longbow that would prove decisive. Nearly 80% of Henry's troops were skilled archers from England and Wales. These men wielded the powerful longbow, capable of piercing armor and striking down knights from far away. As the battle unfolded, the French cavalry charged, hoping to break the English lines. But the muddy ground hindered their progress, and the archers unleashed a hail of arrows. The French knights, encumbered by their heavy armor, fell in droves. Their chivalry and honor counted for little against the deadly rain of English arrows. The turning point came when the French knights, weighed down by their armor, sank into the mud. The English archers closed in, finishing off the wounded and capturing so many. The once glorious knights lay defeated. Their code of chivalry was shattered by the merciless longbow. The Battle of Agincourt marked a seismic shift. It wasn't just a victory for England, it signaled the end of an era. Knights, once revered as the epitome of honor and courage, now faced meaninglessness and obscurity. The longbow had leveled the playing field, rendering their heavy armor and their mounted charges completely ineffective. The English longbow became a symbol of a new age, one where skill, strategy, and adaptability mattered more than noble lineage. Agincourt reshaped the course of history, leaving behind a legacy of innovation and the demise of knighthood as it was known back then. Well, that's all for today. Come back next time and we'll talk about the Avignon Papacy. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new today. Visit our website, www.gloriousheritagecartoons.com, where you can find more educational supplements, cartoons, books, and printables. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram to get notified of our latest updates and videos. And if you like our work and want to support us, you can make a donation on our website or on Patreon. We really appreciate your generosity and kindness. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, and see you next time.